What film scene absolutely destroys you every time, no matter how many times you've seen it? Come on, Doc, why are you doing all of this? You're sick. You should be at home. Wyatt Earp is my friend. Heck, Doc, I've got a lot of friends. I don't. One of many great scenes in that movie. There is a similar one earlier in the film right before the shootout with the cowboys. None of this is your problem, Doc. You don't have to mix up in this. That is a hell of a thing for you to say to me. The ending of Planes, Trains and Automobiles when Steve Martin puts the pieces together and goes back to the train station and sees John Candy still there. Every time I weep. In Lilo and Stitch, when Stitch is leaving and Lilo says she remembers everyone who leaves and then Stitch is crying in the forest saying he's lost. That whole movie, dang. I kept waiting for them to discover the Fantasyland advertised in the Bridge to Terabithia. Then it rains. Screw those guys. Bridge to Terabithia, where the red fern grows. My 4th-5th grade teacher gave us some sad stories to read. That scene from Stepmom. Isabel, you know every story, every wound, every memory, their whole life's happiness is wrapped up in you. Every single second. Don't you get it? Look down the road to her wedding. I'm in a room alone with her, fixing her veil, fluffing her dress, telling her no woman has ever looked so beautiful, and my fear is she'll be thinking, I wish my mom was here, Jackie, and mine is. She won't. The whole part with her giving her kids the gifts and they know she's going to die all the way to this scene. I'm a bawling mess. At the end of Hachi when the wife comes back into town like 10 years later and finds him still waiting at the train station. The Fox and the Hound, when the sweet old lady has to leave Todd behind in the woods. Everything about it. The music, the kindness of that lady, Todd not understanding that he has to stay in the woods. Especially the moment when you see a tear rolling down her cheek as she drives off. I won't watch that movie because this scene just guts me. The final scene in About Time when he and his father go back in time to skip rocks one last time together. Gets me every time. I went into this movie thinking it was a boy-girl love story, not one between a boy and his dad. I also made the mistake of watching 3 weeks after my own dad died. Wrecked me for hours. Priam asking for his son's body back from Achilles in Troy. Most of the movie was standard action movie stuff but that scene is phenomenal. Brad Pitt can act but odang Peter O'Toole could act. The part in Trainspotting where they find that the baby died while they were doped out. I don't know if I cried but that part stuck with me for so long and is still so hard to watch. Especially afterward when they all just go back to shooting up. If it helps. The main cast said they would all play with the baby between takes and they said it helped with some of the movie's darker parts. Forrest Gump, you died on a Saturday morning, and I had you placed here under our tree, and I had that house of your father's bulldozed to the ground. Mama always said dying was a part of life. I sure wish it wasn't. Little Forrest, he's doing just fine. About to start school again soon. I make his breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. I make sure he combs his hair and brushes his teeth every day, teaching him how to play ping pong. He's really good. We fish a lot, and every night, we read a book. He's so smart. Jenny, you'd be so proud of him. I wrote a letter, and he says I can't read it. I'm not supposed to, so I'll just leave it here for you. Jenny, I don't know if Mama was right or if it's Lieutenant Dan. I don't know if we each have a destiny, or if we're all just floating around accidental like on a breeze. But I think maybe it's both. Maybe both is happening at the same time. I miss you, Jenny. If there's anything you need, I won't be far away. The part that always breaks me is when he asks Jenny is he smart, or is he? It's the first time in the whole film where he acknowledges that he's slower than other people, and he's just worried that his son will have a life like he had. The scene in Life is Beautiful when he puts his son in the locker and then walks away with the guards and makes it funny for his son while he knows he's going to be shot. Oh my god. That movie kills me every single time. I saw it when I was 10 and cried for months even at hearing the name of the movie. One of those watch it once because it's brilliant, but never again because it breaks you movies. Full Monty, Dave, referring to himself and his weight, Who wants to see this dance? Jean. Me. Dave. I do. They had just been fighting. He's spent the whole movie dissing himself, and she comes through with that. It's so tender, honest, and loving. Anti-wrinkle cream they may have. Anti-fat bastard cream they do not. The bit in Jojo Rabbit when he sees his mother's shoes hanging and everything after that made me cry so much. I read about it earlier in this thread and cried just thinking about it. It's so gut-wrenching. I wasn't 100% sold on that movie until I saw the red shoes, and then it's like the airbags deployed on me in the middle of the afternoon in my living room. Big Fish. The end when the son starts making up the story, and then the funeral when you see the real versions of those characters. The end of the movie has always killed me, but after my dad passed away 11 years ago it hit me on a completely different level. Then I became a father myself a couple years ago, and then it got me on another completely different level. Calm down. Big Fish. Yes, that's how I go. What an ending. When Moana's grandma comes back and tells her it's okay, that she tried her best and she can go home, and the I Am Moana song that ensues. If I ever need to cry, it's that, or picture a wave in the ocean from The Good Place. When Moana starts her journey just as her grandmother dies, she looks back at the island as all the fires go out, and the stingray spirit rockets out ahead of her. I can't get through it. Bubba was going to be a shrimping boat captain, but instead, he died right there by that river in Vietnam. I just get really sad thinking about all of the Bubbas who have senselessly died in war and never got to live their lives and follow their dreams. I wanna go home, Forrest Gump. I die every time. Brooks was here. Also, the scene in The Pursuit of Happyness in the bathroom, where he's trying to keep the door closed while breaking down crying. That Pursuit of Happiness bathroom scene was so hard to watch. The end of Toy Story 3 when Andy gives Buzz and Woody and all the toys to Bonnie. OMG every single time. I'm even teary thinking about it now. My sister and I ended up illegally streaming Toy Story 3 because I was grounded but we were home alone. I apparently frightened her so much with my hysterical sobbing that she confessed to our mom that night. I didn't get in trouble, but she told me about it years later on a rewatch. I was just coming to terms with the fact that my childhood was over, and that really sealed it for me. When Ned, Paul Rudd, in Our Idiot Brother snaps and yells at his sisters for not playing charades right before he gets arrested for breaking probation. He's the nicest, most genuine freaking person to ever exist, and they blame him for their crappy situations even though he was doing the right thing. And immediately after his outburst, he goes back to being kind and apologizes to his mom and nephew. Freaking kills me to see him be selfless the entire movie just to be bullied and pushed over the edge in a time he needed his family to be there for him. A League of Their Own. When a letter comes from the army to say that somebody's husband has died, I cry like every 5 minutes when I watch that movie, but that particular scene makes me sob. The ending scene from Gladiator where he goes and meets his family in Elysium got me the first time, and while I don't cry now I'm still very close every time I watch it. Also when Bruce Willis dies in Armageddon, I can't explain how it got me but it does. I could prob run through a wall during the scene where Maximus reveals himself as the champion to Cassius. When Jack Nicholson gets lobotomized in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I'm not a crier and I don't feel most of the emotionally charged drama scenes in Hollywood movies, but that made me cry so hard in so much anger because of the injustice. I may be more calm in my reaction now, but it always gets me. It's one of those scenes that hits hard when you realize that has actually happened to people. The Never-Ending Story. When Atreyu loses Artex in the Swamps of Sadness. Tough to see as a kid. Unbearably sad as an adult. How was it in a children's movie? The end of Saving Private Ryan. The entire last battle. The bridge scene. And then the old boy at Ellington. Tell me I'm a good man. I don't care who you are. That hits hard. The scene when the medic dies and he's calling for his mother is just awful and gets me every time. I could have got more. Schindler's List. That scene has made me sob since I was 10. This pin. It's gold. That's 2 more people. They would have given me 2 more. At least 1. The end of American Beauty. When Lester dies and his wife goes to his closet and hugs all the clothes that are hanging up. It's such a powerful demonstration of grief that someone, instead of withdrawing into themselves, seeks out the closest thing that reminds them of their departed. Powerful scene. The end of American Beauty. This entire movie for me, especially the very final narration. You have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm sure, but don't worry, you will someday. Grown man with kids, bitten inside, when Bing Bong jumps off the rocket to let Joy get out of the memory dump, legit tears every time. Take her to the moon for me. The end of Boys in the Hood kills me. Ricky could have gotten out and played football and he was just in the wrong place and time. When I got old enough to watch movies with more gratuitous violence, my dad made me watch Boys in the Hood just for this scene. He wanted me to see a movie where the aftermath of violence is shown. Not technically a film, but the scene in Band of Brothers where they discover the camp. I can handle it until one specific shot a few minutes and where Perkins is walking through the camp. One of the prisoners staggers out of the hut and, seeing an allied soldier for the first time, salutes him even though he can barely stand. It's always the bit that makes the dam burst. Amazed how far I had to scroll to find this. All of Band of Brothers is absolutely gut-wrenching. In Mulan Animated, when she's sitting in the garden with her father after she fails the matchmaker appointment, the cherry blossoms are beautiful this year, but look, that one's late. For me it's the ending of the girl worth fighting for scene, when the music abruptly stops and you see the burning village. When Seymour dies waiting for Fry to come back, or the scene showing that Yancey really loved Fry and named his son after him. Here lies Philip J. Fry, named after his uncle, to carry on his spirit. Don't You Forget About Me starts playing. Hate me all you want, but literally any scene in Spirit, the Pixar movie about a wild Mustang, tears me up, especially when he says good boy to the indigenous boy. I sob. When G-Baby dies in Hardball, after the funeral when they're flashing back to his game-winning hit and crap, gets me every time. Please, boss, don't put that thing over my face. Please don't put me in the dark. Don't make me go into the dark. I's afraid of the dark. Crying like a little kid who's fallen over by this point. What really got me was him singing Heaven, I'm in heaven. Let me through. That's my son. That's my boy. No woo. Every single time. Also, where are his glasses? He can't see without his glasses. This one really takes you by surprise because it's a relatively minor character who comes with an Oscar-worthy delivery for this one line. Return of the King. When the Rohirrim do their death charge, knowing it's a death charge, gets me every time. Too few have come. We cannot defeat the armies of Mordor. We cannot, but we will meet them in battle nonetheless. The scene at the sinking of the Titanic showing the two older couple laying on the bed, the husband holding his crying wife and kissing her on the cheek as she holds her eyes tightly shut and the water rushing in under their bed, always fricks me up. The Strauses. The reality is so sad. He begged her to get on a boat and she said she'd lived her life thus far with him and she wouldn't live it without him. They were last seen together on one of the decks. The Princess Bride. The entire movie you root for Inigo Montoya to get the revenge he so desperately wants. He finally does, and it's some of the greatest writing I've ever seen. The pain on his face when you see him get his revenge but knowing he can't get his father back. I tear up every time. And when my daughter was young she watched that movie on repeat for a year, lol. Arise, arise, riders of Theoden. Spear shall be shaken, shield shall be splintered. A sword day, a red day, ere the sun rises. Ride now, ride now, ride. Ride for ruin and the world's ending. Death, 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 for Thea lingers. I can't carry the ring for you but I can carry you. The end of AI, where the little android boy gets his final special day with his mom. All he wanted was his mother's love and his wish was granted, on his last day of his life. Per Wikipedia, David spends his happiest day with Monica, and as she falls asleep in the evening, she tells David that she has always loved him. The everlasting moment he had been waiting for, the narrator says. David falls asleep as well and goes to that place where dreams are born. I'm 56. Damn it, and I'm the product of a cold and distant mom who passed away years ago. I really feel for that little boy because deep down, at some level, I'm still like him. Not a movie, but the scene in that Fresh Prince episode where Will's father leaves him again. How come he don't want me? Man, brilliantly acted and makes me tear up every time. If only I could have helped you. Leaves from the vine. Falling so slow. Like fragile, tiny shells. Drifting in the foam. Little soldier boy comes marching home. Brave soldier boy comes marching home. In honor of Mako. I was never angry with you, Prince Zuko. I was sad and afraid you had lost your way. Wasted. When Forrest is talking to Jenny's grave, we read a book together every night. He's so smart, Jenny. Gets me every time. Jojo Rabbit. The final scene where Jojo comes out into the street as the American soldiers are driving by. When Elsa slaps him and then they dance to bow as heroes. The relief that it's all over. The forgiveness and love from Elsa and the fact that Jojo has come through as a hero. Gets me every time. The quote following it by Raina Maria Rilke sums it up perfectly. Dude, when he sees his mom's shoes, I am not one to cry, but dang, that was close. Definitely felt it. Where the red fern grows. Yes, they made the book into a movie. The death of old Dan from injuries from saving Billy from a mountain lion, and the death of little Anne from a broken heart. I used to teach this. The Lady Day of Reading. I would sob through that, but in every class. And my students would all break one by one. One memorable quote was Ms. P, you done did me in. Give me those tissues, from one of the toughest boys in the school. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.